Hey, what's up guys? Mr. Adazai here. So, this is a slightly belated video. I promised to have it up last week, but unfortunately was not able to. I had some stuff I had to do real life, nothing extremely important, but I simply couldn't attend to YouTube. But yeah, I'm back now. So, today I'm going to have a little 2-in-1 review of the Ravana and the Nightingale. Now, you might be asking if you had watched one of my videos previously when I made the 5.7 update video. I actually did already review the Ravana and Nightingale. However, that was just my review of them before they were even out. They weren't live at all. They were just in the test server. I believe they didn't even have their like full skin, how they looked in the game. They just were models, and they had the abilities and stuff. So yeah, I'm going to basically just tell you guys now, because I actually have both of these robots, and the Ravana is actually thanks to you guys. As I did say in my last video, I was one of the winners of the YouTuber contest. And yeah, so thanks to the fact that you guys were there supporting me with all my subscribers and views, etc., Pixonic actually noticed my YouTube channel, and they gave me a Ravana so that I can now review it for you. The Nightingale I actually also have, but that is just pure luck. I got it from the event chest. It was like my third draw. And I did also happen to get the Arachnid Invader and a couple dragon weapons, which is really, and my luck's been pretty good this event. And so thanks to that, I'm going to be able now to share with all of you guys my experiences using these robots in very high champion leagues where you see all of the whales, all of those big clans. I'm going to show you how these robots do at lower levels, at medium levels. Now, unfortunately, I can't exactly tell you how they do at higher levels because I can't get them to high levels. I don't have a damn thing over level 10 in my entire account. But if you do want to find out how they do at high levels, you could watch the people like Adrian and stuff. However, I really don't think that a lot of those bigger YouTubers that will show you things like that, they are definitely great and credible. However, I think that you should be looking at things like this where it gives you a perspective of the robot at lower levels, because when they do gameplays and such of those robots at really high levels, they're going to basically everything's gonna wreck. I mean, I believe Manny did a video where he killed things with a Mark II maxed bolt when it was first coming out, and everybody thought it was going to be good because of that. But at a reasonable level, if you're fighting players at your level, I'm going to tell you how these things are going to be. So yeah, let's start with the Ravana. So the Ravana is what I had originally assumed to be the flagship bot of these. I thought that it was going to be the big guy, the one that's going to like overtake Leech, and that's really what everybody was thinking. However, before they put it in the live server, they gave it a massive nerf. Originally, its phase shift thing that it has 2 charges of had a 6-second cooldown, which made it really powerful. But now on the live server, it has a 16-second cooldown. There must have been a typo or something, but the cooldown, but it has been drastically increased. So it's a very, like, this robot in general, it has lots of difficulty with survivability just because of that. It can phase shift a lot. If you use that, you can actually get both what's it called, foolhardy quartermaster, so that you could have a extra phase shift, and clever survivor, so you could have an extra charge, and whenever you're getting low on health, you can actually phase shift and what's it called, transcendence, whatever that ability is called. You could do that multiple times, and I think that is a pretty good thing. But again, you're gonna need a pilot that has those abilities, and you're also gonna need to like level it a bit so that it can actually fight. Because the problem with this, in comparison to the current meta robot, which is basically Leech and Aljun and Ares and all those, is that like you need to be able to actually kill enemies when you have all of your health and stuff. So for example, the Leech, it can go into an invincibility mode and fire with its 4 weapons, but this robot in its own invincibility mode, it cannot fire. So you need, like, at some point to expose yourself and make yourself vulnerable so that you can actually defeat your enemies. But the problem with this is that since you can't shoot when you're in your invincibility mode, it really makes that pretty hard to do. I find that, like, another really high meta robot is the Phantom, and the Phantom doesn't have any sort of invincibility, but it just has a massive amount of health and 33% damage resistance in its like ability. So I think that this robot, it definitely could use some buffs. The cooldown is very unnecessarily long. It could use some buffs to its health probably. and some damage resistance, maybe like for a couple seconds after activating the ability it gets some damage resistance. I'm just throwing ideas out there, but what I think here is in higher league, Champions League, for the most part, I had predicted that this is going to be a good counter to leeches, and I'll tell you, in some cases it is. In a 1v1 scenario, when you're just fighting a leech, if you can get it to use its ability, which if you're using the right weapons like cryo weapons, you could probably beat it in a 1v1 with a phase shift and 2 of your transcendence abilities. It's really not absurdly difficult just because you can outlast that leech, but in normal gameplay you don't always have that nice 1v1 scenario. In normal gameplay you can get jumped from other players, and after all, like, you know, when you run out of that phase shift and stuff, you're very vulnerable because this robot is absurdly slow. Like, let me tell you one thing about the Phantom. Another thing about the Phantom here. So the Phantom is a very powerful robot because it has massive health, but not only that, it has a pretty small hitbox. Like, hitting the Phantom is very, like, it's not hard. It's just when you're using those high damage close range shotguns, you need to get really close to maximize your damage because its hitbox is so small. This thing, it might not seem like it, but it is the size of a Fenrir. This is a very big robot. It has a body of a tank. So it also has the speed of a tank. Whenever you're not in your ability, you are disgustingly slow. You will just be trotting around, and it is really, really hard to do a lot of fighting when you're not in your ability. When you are in your ability, though, you're extremely fast. Like, you could actually beat a Phantom in a race, but only for the time that you're in your ability. So a lot of the time, I do think that this robot has its ups, its downs, but when it's fighting against a lot of these meta robots, I think that it maybe could use another charge and a little bit lower cooldown, because I think that the point of this is, like, you're supposed to be able to use it a little bit more skillfully than you would a lot of other robots, because, you know, yes, you can dodge their ability and then you just have a 1v1 where nobody's invincible, and that's a lot more fair. But you can't really, like, after you've dodged one enemy's ability, if you can even do that, because, like, running a phase shift on this isn't even the best idea. Usually I found that it does a lot better with a health module. You know, if you can't dodge those abilities, then you're gonna get killed really quickly. But with that being said, I do think that Pixonic might buff it eventually, because they are kind of pushing for this to be a flagship, and they're giving away giveaways and all that. Overall, I do give it, I think it's a good robot. It's worth going for if you like its playstyle. If you use phase shift and you really enjoy, like, the mechanics of phase shift on your normal bots, and you like the dash bots, this is literally just an upgraded dash bot. That's basically what it is. I used to always run the dash bots, and this right here, it is like a Hayachi without the energy shield, and now you just are invincible while you were dashing, because that's the ability. It's basically just a dash because of how fast you go. So yeah, this is a it's a pretty powerful bot. It is nice to see. It's pretty nostalgic because now it's like we got the 3 dash bots 2 years ago, and now we having another basically dash bot, and it's for the same Lunar New Year event, and I think that that's a very interesting thing. So this robot, it's decent. You can go for it, but do know that you're going to need to invest a lot of time trying to be skillful to beat a lot of those leeches and stuff, and for the most part, you can expect to lose to leeches with this robot unless you, like, really are able to play around them and they don't have any teammates around. So yeah, now onto the Nightingale. Actually, before I get onto the Nightingale, I did forget a couple really important things other than just my opinions on the robot. Now, of course, yes, that is, now you've got an idea whether you want to like that robot or not. Now, let's say that you've decided that you want to get this robot. I'm going to tell you, so basically you have pilot skills, weapons, and modules that you want to run on it. Of everything that I ran, I find that there are 2 perfect weapon combinations for this, and that is Coronas and Cryos. Coronas are going to be very powerful with this. You're going to be able to lock down your enemies. You're going to be able to do a lot of damage really quickly. And Cryos, same thing, really quick, lots of damage. That's the point. Because with this robot, a lot of your attacks are going to be you go in, you dump all your ammo, and then you phase shift out. It's just like the good old days when you played with, like, a Hayachi with Orkans, and that's why I think Cryos work on it very well. And now Coronas will probably work on it pretty well as well, because they also shoot very quickly. So it's really a personal preference choice from that. I think that since cryos are a lot newer, unless you got really lucky, like I got absurdly lucky with that one event, and I also had like a lot of chests that I got from one deal, and I was able to get a bunch of cryos. So I do have the cryos to arm one of these, but I also have the coronas to arm one of these, and I'm sure that a lot more people have coronas than cryos. So if you have coronas, run those. And if you don't have coronas, even storms are good, but as they are, storms are a lot more oriented around shooting, doing a lot more less burst damage, more sustained damage. So you're basically going to run weapons that are bursty on this, but you can also run some sustained weapons. I found that I played once with a Tehran setup, and Tehran setup's like really old setup. It's not that great. Tehran's got nerfed for no reason, and yet Tehran still did pretty good on this. I'm pretty sure like I hit a godlike with Tehran's, which is surprising. So you could play this robot in all sorts of different ways. The only ways I really don't recommend playing it is like long range, mid range, because that just completely gets rid of the point of using the ability. The ability is meant to help you out in close range encounters. So I would just recommend you want to run things that are close range and dump their ammo out really quick. Even if you want to run Orkans, you can. I think Orkans look good on this robot, but then again, Orkans are pretty bad, and they're outclassed by cryos and coronas and a lot of other weapons. So yeah, it's really just a personal choice. If anything, if all goes worse, you can't run anything else. You could run Punishers if you have absolutely nothing, like a newer player and you won this from the event just completely by luck. All you have is Punishers. You could run Punishers, even though like Telumbuses will have better burst. Again, they're mid-range weapons, so yeah, they're gonna burst, but then you're gonna have like 12 seconds of reload. So I've got to give it to that here. So yeah, as for modules, I think it does best with defense modules. A lot of people might go for the attack modules because it is an attack robot, but it really needs all that extra defense that it can get. The robot is gonna like really suffer when you're fighting if you cannot like take the damage from your enemies. So yeah, I generally do find that those modules that will increase your defense are going to be the best. Also, you want to use either advanced healing, normal healing, or phase shift. I find that advanced healing is the most effective as that kind of module. And also, if you have a last stand or anti-control, I'd say last stand is pretty nice. Anti-control is a lot less important just because of you usually always have that phase shift up. So it's usually that anti-control just kind of becomes pointless because you can always phase shift if you get locked down or suppressed. So yeah. And I believe other than that, there's pilot skills, which you want the most normal things. If you're using like shotguns, you want the shot grouping. You almost always want mechanic on like everything, and also those two skills I talked about a little bit ago. The foolhardy quartermaster to get the if you're using phase shift, foolhardy quartermaster. Even if you're not using phase shift, foolhardy quartermaster is also pretty good. And yeah, there's also the clever survivor, which you could use to get your extra dash. So that's about it for the Ravana. I'm already getting this video really long, so let's get on to the Nightingale. So with the Ravana out of the way, we have the Nightingale. Now, as much as Pixonic may be pushing the Ravana to be that one big, really cool bot that you want to get your hands on, like the Leech of this century or whatever, this update, I think that the Nightingale is actually, in quite a few ways, a bit better than the Ravana. You see, I feel that if you win a Nightingale, you would be better off in most cases than if you win a Ravana, simply because of how the Nightingale is. The Nightingale is the best healer in the game, and I will say this completely uncontested by anybody, hopefully. Like, you could argue with me about this in the comment section, but I think that there's no other healers better than this. If we look at this, like, you have Tyr, and it has its, like, healing field, whatever, even with its new buff, and it has one extra weapon on this. Mender has a little bit weaker weapon setup. It's definitely like tougher, built for that. Wayland, higher damage, but it has stand still. So yeah, I think of these robots, just this robot, not just healer, support bot, because like this also includes Raker, because Raker is also meant to be played as a support bot. It's not all supports are healers, but all healers are supports. Anyway, so this robot is like you took a Raker and you took an Aljun and Tyr, and you basically put them into one robot, and now it has this Aljun. It flies like an Aljun, but for like twice as long, and it has a suppression beam, and it has this big healing field that heals every single thing that's under you. So you could just heal absolutely your entire team for a really long time. It's a pretty pretty powerful healing field. I think that this Nightingale is just it's such a good robot. I mean, if you get this in like the Ravana, if you got the Ravana from this event, you get really lucky. You're a lower league player and you win a Ravana by complete luck. You're gonna be pretty stuck if you don't have any good weapons. This thing, it doesn't matter what weapons you put on it. You could run it with no weapons. Most of the time that you're playing, you're not using your weapons because they get deactivated when you go fly. So yeah, this thing is going to really annoy those Aljun or those Almings and stuff. The only thing I say to watch out with this that counters it is the new thing. Like if other players get lucky as well, then when that Yang Li pilot, that guy, you got Aljuns flying up to you, and if you don't have that anti-stealth to suppress them, then they're going to kill you really quickly, because you can't like really move as fast in the air. But yeah, so my views on this, I think this is a little bit better than the Ravana. So if I had to choose one to run in my hangar, I couldn't choose the other one. Then I would probably have to go with this Nightingale. It's a fun bot. It's a good looking bot. It's a pretty tough bot. It just has everything that you want in a support robot. If you like that support playstyle, you always want to go for this one. This is the best of all of those support robots in the game. And if you prefer a brawler playstyle, then maybe the Ravana is for you. But I still do think that it's pretty nice to have a support bot in your hangar. Running support bots is always fun. So it's always a pretty, how do I say this? It gets you honor and stuff. So playing a support bot in general, I do like to play support bots. I do like to play the Nightingale, and I find that Nightingale is definitely one of those robots that you want to get your hands on. I'm restating myself a lot here, but other than that, let's talk about the weapons, pilot skills, modules. Weapons, as I said, weapons don't matter as much with this robot because you're not shooting as much. However, I did find that running Corona, Halo, and Igniter, Blaze, Storm, Gust, Tehran, Magnum. I mean, honestly, you could put anything on this and it'll be good, but I recommend, I wouldn't recommend close range weapons because, I play close range on basically everything. I love shotguns, I love flamethrowers, cryos, all of that is great. However, this robot does look like it is meant to be played a little bit more mid-rangey, so if you want, I could say to run Scourge Spark, but that's about as much as mid-range that I'd really consider. So yeah, they're pretty. There's really a lot of choices to go with on this bot, and it's all up to your personal opinion. And again, for modules, it's just I'd say this one is probably. I'd honestly have to say if you want to run any between the defense and the attack modules, to run the attack, not the defense, because even though getting a lot of health as a healer is great, with this robot, whenever you're flying, you could actually find that you could start doing some relatively significant damage with your little pew pew laser that shoots, and you have a very long stealth, so you're like a Loki that can do a little bit of damage. And running all those extra damage modules is going to help you put out as much damage as you can, as well as the destroyer perk on your pilot, all those master gunsmith, all that you want to run, and it will give you a little bit extra damage that you need to maybe kill somebody with the laser if they're on low health. Other than that, I find this robot, it's also I didn't want to note this. This is great against Almings. I've already said this, but if you see those Dragoon Almings, they won't be able to target you, and you could save your teammates by going to heal them and suppressing the Dragoon Almings. And you could like make one of your teammates who's running a Alming as well always win the fight by suppressing other Titans. I find this robot is great to pull out mid game when a lot of Titans are coming up, because Titans aren't really as easily able to counter these stealth and the suppression. So you could really weaken the enemy team running a Nightingale. Yeah. Also, so modules, again, I say attack over defense, and you want your last stand if you have one, and anti-control is definitely pretty good on this. As for active module, I'd say run maybe a shield breaker or a anti-stealth, or if you really want to, you could run healing, although I don't think that's really necessary. But anti-stealth is probably one of the better ones to run, I'd imagine, and maybe shield breaker. It's really like a flip of the coin, whatever you prefer. You could also run lockdown, although I believe that lockdown will not work with that suppressor cannon, but it might. I'm not certain. A lot of robots, it goes from robot to robot, but some robots it seems that when you use a lockdown module, and you shoot them with the built-in weapon, it doesn't actually lock them down. So it depends. I'm gonna have to test that out because I haven't personally run it. I was mostly using anti-stealth to counter the Aoming or Aojuns. But yeah, I believe that's going to be basically it. It's going to wrap it up for this. None of these robots have skins. I think I've basically gotten to everything with the robot, pilot skills, and modules and weapons. And what I think that these two robots are balanced, unlike the recent robots like the Leech and the Phantom are horribly overpowered. However, I think that the Nightingale and the Ravana are very nice balanced robots. However, the Ravana is not going to beat the Leech as much as people were hoping it might, and the Nightingale, it is going to beat all the other healers. So other than that, there's the Cerberus, which I would like to have a review out on as soon as I'm able to get mine from the Operation Pass. However, if you actually want to get it earlier, you can buy it right now for 7,500 gold if you would like. But I would recommend probably watching a couple videos on it before you do. I wish I could get my video out, but I do not have 7,500 gold to spend on the Cerberus. I would like to try it, but from what I've been seeing, the general consensus is that Cerberus is kind of mediocre. But I think that there are some cases in which you could run it really, really well if you use all the right skills. But yeah, this video isn't about Cerberus. This is my Nightingale Ravana review. I hope you guys enjoyed. Like, subscribe, whatever. I'm a weird-looking, stupid drawn octopus, blah blah blah, intro, outro thing. Bye. Catch you on the flip side.